5 is the station.
Model Railway Nirvana is the destination.
With the Great Model Railway Challenge, the ultimate platform for diorama drama.
Oh, I think our train's in.
I think we missed it.
The Great Model Railway Challenge is all about incredible layouts. Controversy.
I'm worried that's a possible infringement of the rules and could lead to an unfair advantage.
And lashings of tea and cake.
That'll set my diabetes off a treat. Oh dear.
Series 1 saw Aberdeen Model Railway Club crowned champions.
Now 15 new teams of virtuoso modelers are taking a shot at the title.
But with more rounds to get through
and harder challenges to overcome,
the competition's going to be even tougher.
Oh my word, but fire on the track!
The 4 teams who reach the grand final
Blast off!
will do battle to win a coveted stand at the UK's most prestigious model railway exhibition.
And the honour of being declared the new champions
of the Great Model Railway Challenge. It's the last of the heats and a final opportunity for teams to book a direct ticket straight to the semi-finals.
The highest scoring runners-up from across the heats will also advance to the semis. Will they emerge from these 3 teams of modelling maestros?
Team Grantham, big cheeses on the model railway exhibition circuit.
We've got a good spread of talents in the team and hopefully we'll progress all the way through the competition.
Emerging from their attics and blinking in the sunshine, the railway sleepers.
We're beginning to wake up. We've been asleep for 25 years and we're ready to go.
And bashful kit-bashing kings muddle and go nowhere.
We're going to build a layout that I think is going to be really memorable. It's going to have some really innovative and creative ideas on it. Nothing's just come straight out of the box.
You know the drill by now. The teams have just 3 days to build layouts that depict this week's theme. The sky's the limit. Welcome to the Great Model Railway Challenge.
We want layouts that are going to head for the heavens, that are going to hit the heights, that are going to reach for the stars. Now, our judges, Steve and Kathy, are very down to earth, though, and they're going to be marking your work on build quality, creativity, and functionality, so don't wing it.
Now, you only have 3 days in which to complete your layouts, and trust me, time will fly by.
So, fasten your seatbelts. Your time starts
now.
These 3 teams of artists will each start with an identical blank canvas, a 10 by 5 foot baseboard on which they can let their imaginations take flight with this heat's Sky's the Limit theme.
But will they manage to take our 2 judges to cloud 9?
Snake-hipped but stony-hearted, Steve Flint is the esteemed editor of Railway Modeller magazine.
Building model railways isn't rocket science, but maybe this week is the exception. I'm expecting liftoff with their creations.
Joining Steve in the cockpit is high-flying master modeller and vlogger Kathy Millett.
This week the sky's the limit, but I don't want them to settle for that. I want their imagination to hold no bounds.
Hoping they've got what it takes to win this heat is family and friend team Muddle and Go Nowhere.
Model and Go Nowhere, it actually comes from Midland and Great Northern Railway, but they managed to build a railway that went nowhere near any town, city, so they became known as the Muddle and Go Nowhere, and we thought that was quite a good name for the team.
In the team is Matt's daughter Lucy, who uniquely has been juggling railway modelling with GCSE revision in the run-up to the competition.
I want to do painting more models, but instead I'm knowing that I need to revise.
As long as it's not getting in the way of your revision.
I don't think so.
Muddle and Go Nowhere Railways.
Yep.
Excellent. Can you tell us about your layout?
Yes, so our layout is based on Mars, and it really takes over at the end of the H.G. Wells novel War of the Worlds.
After the War of the Worlds, it's payback time. The Victorians have come to teach those naughty Martians a lesson. The scratch-built settlement of New London will feature a gramophone-based listening dish and an enormous silo from which a rocket will emerge on rails. Meanwhile, a Martian tripod can do nothing to stop a space plane taking off. It's humans 1, alien scum 0.
All in all, a Great Western Branch Line terminus transplanted to Mars.
In a nutshell.
Wow.
Interesting. Matt, what's your kind of main modelling technique then?
Because we're modelling on Mars, we really can't buy anything out of the box. It's amazing how poorly supported the Martian railway industry is, actually. So everything has had to be modified to fit into the surroundings.
Kit bashing at its finest.
Yeah, really enjoyable.
Good luck conquering the red planet, Matt.
Thank you.
We'll catch up with you later.
Thanks.
Graham, so you're the team captain of Team Grantham.
I'm the team captain of Team Grantham, yes.
Where are you from?
Well, we're not from Grantham, believe it or not. We're
That was supposed to be a joke.
We're
right.
actually from the northeast of England, but the reason for Grantham is that we've built a large exhibition layout based on Grantham Station as it was in the 1930s.
Right.
So one of the things we enjoy is replicating how a real railway works in miniature.
Let's talk about what you've got going on here. What's it inspired by?
It was very much inspired by the railways of Switzerland, but the reason for that is we took the theme about reach for the sky in terms of elevation, because obviously railways do climb mountains to get closer to the sky.
And there are lots of them in Switzerland.
And Switzerland do it sort of par excellence, as it were.
Inspired by their favourite alpine train journeys, Grantham's layout will showcase Switzerland's spectacular Landwasser viaduct. A freight train will transport a rocket to the mountain top, past a waterfall and an animated radio telescope, while passengers ascend via a funicular railway, arriving just in time to watch the rocket launch from a Thunderbirds-inspired swimming pool. It should be FAB.
Kathy, what's your impressions of what you're looking at?
Wow, I love the height. It makes it feel more alive than a very flat layout.
Something gives me the impression that you're going to need every single second that you've got, so I think we should leave you to get on, because that is a lot to complete.
That would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, all right. Good talking to you.
OK, then.
Alrighty.
Thanks.
Michael, something tells me by the armband that you might be the El Capitan of the railway sleepers.
Yes, I am the captain.
Why are you called the railway sleepers and we haven't got any time for sleeping around here?
Definitely not. We're busy, busy, busy. We're called the railway sleepers because we're all beginning to wake up. We've all had train layouts in the past, and now they're coming out of the attic and the cupboards, and we're beginning to play with them again. I've chosen a group of very good friends. I've known Simon for 8 years. My son's in the team. James has always been interested in railways. From a very little boy, we had a train set. When he left home, the train set was packed up and put in the attic, and now it's come out again.
What is your layout based on?
Well, you know what's happened to Earth, don't you? The atmosphere is now methane. We've taken off into space. We've found a new planet, and we're going to call it Planet 16.
Wow.
The year is 2121, and having abandoned a polluted Earth, humanity has taken refuge on the pristine Planet 16, where, predictably, we've constructed a dirty great space city and an enormous futuristic suspension bridge for all our space cars. Brilliant. While indigenous life forms look on incredulous, a train will transport highly toxic fuel to a gigantic spaceship that will then launch in a cloud of choking fumes. The future is looking bright.
Kathy, aliens.
So cool.
Big fan of aliens.
I love anything sci-fi.
Excellent.
Well, you've got a lot to do, so we'll leave you to it. With just 3 days to complete their builds, it's vital that the teams get their tracks laid on day one. Not content with that level of pressure, 2 of the teams are deliberately raising the stakes. Both Grantham and the Sleepers are building raised track beds, rather than laying their tracks directly onto their baseboards.
What we've done with the design, we wanted to build the railway on several levels, and to accentuate the level, what we've done here is actually cut down so we get even a greater depth.
On a similar flight path to Team Grantham are the Railway Sleepers.
Wow! Landscape on legs. I've never seen anything like that before.
They're using cutting-edge techniques to help speed up their build time.
These are our city shelf elevations. So they're all MDF boxes, effectively, which all clip together. Cutting out-wise, each of these particular module blocks here probably takes about 3 minutes on the laser.
Railway sleepers have certainly come up with some innovation here. I've never seen that kind of landscape built up using laser-cut components. They all link together a bit like a simple jigsaw puzzle. It's a cracking start in my book.
Meanwhile, for Muddle and Go Nowhere, it's a case of, Houston, we have a problem. Their key animation, a rocket launch pad pushed by a locomotive, well, it's a bit too heavy. Oops.
The chassis for the rocket launcher just seems to be dragging completely. We'll keep fiddling with it and eventually we'll get it working. It's got to happen. It's got to happen.
Welcome back. We're halfway through day one of this Sky's the Limit themed heat, and in the display room, the teams are working flat out.
Right, I'll do the nearer end to you of that side, Tom.
Things are chaotic as I expected. There's quite a bit more scenery to put in place and then the chicken wire to go on the top of that. Hopefully, we should be in a good position by the time we go home tonight.
While Grantham check on their chicken wire, the railway sleepers are making a dream start, thanks to their high-tech building methods.
I can see that you guys are making great progress here already. And it's obvious that you're using, you can see the burn marks around the outside of the MDF here.
Yeah.
Why a laser cutter?
It's extremely accurate. We can build things that you wouldn't be able to build out of card.
Normally you'd be cutting this stuff by hand or with a jigsaw or with a hacksaw or whatever it is. Has it given you some time back?
It's very quick, it's very easy, and produces great results.
So, while their rivals play catch-up with their track laying...
Definitely quite stressing. This could be going a lot better.
The railway sleepers are ready to run trains.
We were about to test the train on the track. We've wired it all up, both lower and upper loops, so fingers crossed. That looks like it works. Handshake. Brilliant.
When it comes to testing their trains, Team Grantham have left themselves a mountain to climb, as the alpine scenery needed to support their track is still under construction.
What we're doing here is we're actually installing the structure for the third and final board, and this, the centrepiece of this is the funicular railway that rises up to the top space station. So I'm checking the clearance there, and the other clearance issue is we've got to get this slot lined up, otherwise the carriage will catch as it comes through here. Cracking.
With the final piece of their towering scenic structure in place, Team Grantham down tools for a moment and put the kettle on.
Graham and Andrew, enjoying the tea break together.
Tea always helps the job tick along.
It certainly does. It seems like there's a very special relationship between you all.
Yes, well, we are a genuine team. I mean, the strongest bond is between me and Andrew because we both started working in the rail industry in 1986. Within Team Grantham, myself and Andrew have known each other for over 30 years, and we understand each other's approach to modelling. Oh, broken me drill bit. So between the two of us, mine on the mechanical side and his on the electronic wizardry, and the two together should help Team Grantham win the competition.
You were two fresh-faced inductees into
That's
British
right.
Rail.
Yep.
What was it that kind of you found a shared passion? It was railways itself, was it?
Railways itself, rail travel, I think. I seem to remember a journey back to Derby where we drew a little map of the country and drew in the lines where we reckon we'd all been.
Yep.
And then we...
Both interested in railway modelling.
Yeah, indeed. Railways has brought us together and kept us together.
Well, I think all of that's really shown through in the modelling, so I'm really looking forward to seeing how this is going to turn out. Nice one, guys.
So, with day one of this contest almost over, the judges retire to the station house to consider the provisional marks they'll award for creativity.
Stephen, shall we start with Muddle and Go Nowhere? What do you reckon of this Martian Victorian fusion thing?
Well, it's a clever mix of railways, rockets and reality. So if they deliver, I'm going to predict a 4.
A 4? Kathy?
I'm going with 4 because it does have that mix of historic and future, which I think is very cleverly done.
That's excellent. Railway sleepers.
They've got aliens, they've got rockets, they've got animated space vehicles. There's lots going on in their layout. What do you think, Steve?
Once again, railways on a distant planet, but so far the interpretation isn't quite lighting my blue touch paper. It's still a bit too Earth-like in my opinion, so for me they're only on target for a 3 at this stage.
I see. Kathy, you on the other hand would give them a...
I'm going to to give them a 4. And my reasoning for that is sci-fi works best when it starts with reality you can identify with. So by making it quite earthly, I think that actually works well.
And then Team Grantham, who conceptually are looking like an absolutely mammoth layout.
Yeah. They've actually gone subterranean in a certain section of the board. I've been waiting for somebody to do that.
It's certainly an imaginative approach to their baseboard, but in response to the theme, have they matched the kind of fantasy of the other two teams?
It depends on how you interpret the sky's the limit. If it's earthbound, it's really promising in terms of scenic splendour and superb animations. I'm quite comfortable with the fact that their rocket will take us to the limit of the sky.
All right, should we do scores then? Creativity for those guys, Grantham, Kathy.
Initially, I was thinking a 4, and I probably will go with that, but I might bring it down if it just looks like a Swiss Alps layout with a rocket tacked on.
Steve, what's your score?
I'm going to give them a 4 for creativity.
The early scoring in this Sky's the Limit themed heat has all three teams then cruising at pretty much the same altitude. As the day concludes, though, railway sleepers are the only ones who've got their trains fully operational.
As for Team Grantham, well, they're sticking doggedly to their risky plan of focusing on the scenics rather than testing track.
We're definitely at the sort of severe end of the challenge that we set ourselves here, because we've got to get the actual scenery structure in place, and we had hoped to have all this covered. But as you can see, it's not fully covered. Tom's working away here furiously as quickly as he can, following me, but until I've got all this chicken wire in place, he can't put the mod rack on. Skin and hair flying in all directions.
Meanwhile, over at Muddle and Go Nowhere, Johnny's finally managed to lighten his launch pad enough to get it moving. He's hoping nothing else mars the performance.
Right, that's it. Don't touch it ever again. You know what's going to happen next, don't you? We've still got the rockets put on yet. Yeah. And the base is going to be full of water.
One day into our Sky's the Limit challenge, and things are looking pretty good here at Fawley Hill. Muddlers are giving HE World's War of the Worlds a long-awaited second leg. Grantham are displaying impressive range by displaying an impressive range. And railway sleepers are determined not to finish below the other tracks, ironic given their name, with their own marvellous animations. What will today hold?
On day one, the teams were chasing creativity marks, wowing the judges with their flights of fancy. However, on day two, the focus shifts to the quality of their craftsmanship.
Today, we are looking at build quality. Although the modellers are up against the clock, they must resist the temptation to cut corners.
Centrepiece of Muddle and Go Nowhere's layout is a large hangar, out of which should slide this potent-looking rocket on rails. While Captain Matt gives that some love, his teammates focus on the scenics and models that will populate their Martian landscape. They smile, but will Judge Steve be beaming down on their planet's surface?
I see a commercial card kit here that you've adapted. The roof is the most noticeable alteration.
Yes, it's actually wrapping paper and then suitably embossed with rivet detail with a ballpoint pen.
It's very, very effective.
Well, it's a funny thing. There aren't many kits for buildings on the surface of Mars.
Very challenging for you, then, imagining what life on Mars must be like.
Indeed.
It's a pity David Bowie's not around here. Perhaps he could have told us.
During the heats, teams are permitted to bring along 6 pre-built items to enhance their layouts and showcase their modelling skills to the judges.
Grantham's electronics wizard Andrew has made a parabolic radio telescope from scratch, one that sends a pretty strong signal about their ambition.
Andrew, we've seen some pretty impressive scratch-built items before, but this thing takes the biscuit. Am I right in thinking you've made this just from stuff?
Yes. When the theme was mentioned, my first thought was sort of Jodrell Bank Space Telescope.
Yep.
Started off with a photograph of the real thing, and the real thing runs on rails in a circle.
So what is it made of?
It's made of ordinary rail, again, a piece of proprietary N-gauge track, ripped the sleepers off and just soldered together.
Andrew, I love the fact that you've actually got detail inside the porter cabin and you've lit it as well.
Yes, doing those little details that I find makes the modelling interesting. So there's a couple of people in there, they're sitting at their computer screens.
You're an electronics engineer, which means I'm sure this thing is going to animate.
That's correct. So we can go in the horizontal direction.
Generally speaking, a satellite dish has X, Y and Z movement. Can you actually yaw the thing up and down?
Like that,
Oh.
Wow.
How good does it feel to have made this?
Pretty good. Yeah, I'm very pleased with it. It's come out better than I dared hope, I think, when I started.
That is something that I could only ever dream of making.
Meanwhile...
There he goes, the Space Racer.
In a galaxy about 4 feet away, Sleeper's Captain Michael is road testing one of his team's pre-built items.
This is my battery-operated space vehicle.
OK, something you've made yourself, is it?
It's completely scratch-built out of pieces.
Do you think in making that you might be inspiring future designs?
I think so, and some of the elements of it, like the jet engines, the speed of it, and I think in the future things like that will take off into the air and go very quickly.
So the likes of Elon Musk and James Dyson might be watching that and thinking, I could learn from that.
Yeah, definitely.
Wow, let's hope they're watching.
Although Michael's Space Racer looks ready for intergalactic biz, the rest of their layout still features a little too much space. Construction on their main feature, Planet 16's enormous space city, which is due to run the entire length of their baseboard, has fallen behind. Finishing it on time will require military precision from the Sleepers. Fortunately, this team do have some combat experience.
Normally when we're working, we've got a little bit more time available. I mean, all being wargamers, this is akin to being given a very large army 2 days before a tournament and expected to paint it from scratch. So it's a bit of a tall order, but we're definitely going to get there. At the moment, I'm working on about 4 different projects at the same time, trying to get them all finished off. Behind me, I've just sprayed some pressure vessels, which they've gone red. At the moment, I'm painting the top of a silo that's actually going to be made out of a pop can.
All 3 teams are working hard to stay on schedule, but things aren't going to get any easier, for Day 2 sees one of the competition's toughest tests, the now infamous Scratch Build Challenge.
The Scratch Build Challenge requires the team to take 3 random items and incorporate them onto their layout in the most creative manner possible. The modellers need to take this seriously because with 2 points on offer, it could make the difference between winning or losing.
Now, you may think that Steve's Hollywood good looks are just healthy diet, in the family, in the genes, whatever. They are, but also he has a little bit of assistance. Now, I've raided his man bag, and this is what's come out. The first item is tanning oil, Steve's tanning oil. So in whichever way you can think of, incorporate parts or all of the tanning oil in your layout. The second item, it's a size 4 flip-flop. Pair of flip-flops. The third item, I feel like I should be wearing a hazmat suit to do. It's a tanning thong. Steve's tanning thong. Omelettes. It's used. There you go.
Thank you.
You've got to the end of the day, at which point you will be being judged by Kathy. So go, 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 and good luck.
Thank you.
So what have we got then?
We've got 2 pink shoes. We've got some tanning lotion. Give that to Johnny. And I think these are yours.
Oh. Definitely not my size.
The texture on the underside caught my attention here, and I thought we could cut shapes out of this to make some mountain paths.
Definitely not one of thong for a long... Well, not that I'm ever going to admit to.
We weren't sharp off the blocks yesterday, but whatever we make out of this stuff, we need those 2 points.
The rest of his team have got bigger things on their minds, trying to complete the monumental scenics on their Martian layout. Captain Matt's daughter Lucy is responsible for painting the back scene and the models that will populate their red planet.
It's a great model railway challenge first, a father and daughter modelling team. Lucy, you're the daughter. Have you done a lot of modelling before?
No, I'm not really allowed near Dad's model railway. I'm a bit clumsy. I've dropped most of the things here at least once today.
And yet, for your big appearance in this competition, Lucy's on board. Why?
What I really needed was somebody to paint up all the things that we had to create and to be able to do that rapidly.
Aye.
So as well as good model engineers, we've got great painters and creative minds who can do that.
Nice to have a family member along, no?
It is actually, yeah, and it is quite relaxing.
Is it relaxing, Lucy, to have your dad next to you?
Yeah, it's nice to be able to spend time with Dad. And also I feel like I'm kind of making him proud, because this has been his hobby for years and years and years.
Right.
And now suddenly I have this chance to like show my dad like that I can do it.
Back in the display room, work continues on the layouts, while the clock ticks for the scratch builders.
Sorry to drop this on you, but you only have 1 hour left.
I'm hoping Steve doesn't want his flip-flop back, because I'm reshaping it into an exchange siding, and we'll have a metal platform of some degree placed into this area and populate it with a few bits and pieces and make it look pretty.
This is going to be a kind of drop pod, spaceship-y thing, which is descending from space. And when I remember where I've put the thong thing, that's going to become the parachute, which is straight down it.
3 minutes left, guys, of the Scratch Build Challenge. That's your lot.
Was that edge straight?
That's pretty good, actually. Leave that as that. Don't touch it.
There you go, Graham. What do you think?
Awesome.
Oh, it's a lovely smell to it.
It has got a very peculiar smell.
One minute left of the Scratch Build Challenge. That is it, just 60 seconds.
Fiddling with it doesn't let the glue set.
5, 4, 3, 2, and 1 second. That is it. The Scratch Build Challenge has concluded. Please step back and leave them on your layout. If they're not on it, you won't get marked on it.
Good show, Chris.
Chris, you've got the tanning oil, you've got Steve's thong, you've
Yeah.
also got his teeny-weeny flip-flop. Where have you hidden them on your layout?
Bubbling away in here, we have the tanning oil. This is a 3D printed item. We have a fish tank aerator now placed in it.
Could it be a hot tub on Mars?
It could be. You might come out a funny colour, though.
OK, where is the flip-flop?
This is the flip-flop here. We've cut it down, weathered the tread and added a couple of aliens waiting for the next train. The thong is just by the side of it. We have a wagon carrying another rocket, and the thong is the covering for it.
OK, so that's all three of them used, so good luck. Warren, I can tell from the fact you've got silver paint on your hands, I'm expecting to see silver things. Where are they?
So we've got a shuttle here. It's made predominantly from the tanning solution bottle. The inner tube from the tanning solution is the refueling pump at the back. And then the foot risers at the front, we've stolen from the flip-flop.
So what's the next thing we're looking out for?
So what we're looking at here is alien attack pod, and we've got the flip-flop providing the texturing on the sides.
That's great, and then the thong on the top is the emergency parachute. Once
Well,
it
I didn't want to get too intimate with that.
Here.
And we've got the offcuts of the flip-flop. So the blue was shredded to make it look like an aggregate, which is on the planet.
Right.
And the pink is some local fauna, I suppose.
Excellent. That's all three of them in many different ways. Thanks very much. Andrew, where have you hidden them on your layout?
OK, so the thong is at the top of the mountain behind the funicular station.
Oh, it's a sort of huge gazebo tent thing.
It is, yes.
Right, that's the thong. Where's the flip-flop?
Some of it's from the path up to the radio telescope here, and we've used the upper from one of them for the pipe work on this wagon here.
Inside the wagon, you can see there is also...
The tanning oil.
The tanning oil. You've put something on the side of it. What does it say?
It's the brand of the rocket fuel. It's Flint brand, for lasting ignition, naturally tinted.
And Flint happens to be one of the judges, Steve's surname.
Well, I understand it was his tanning oil that you gave us in the first place.
Well, that's right. You've used all three of them. Very creative, as ever, so thank you very much. Right, let's start with the railway sleepers.
You could see the tanning oil bottle sat there, but at least they had taken some bits apart, and I did like the fuel filler, but I thought that was a good use of that.
The escape pod with the corrugation on the side, you would not have known that was the sole of a flip-flop, which is the aim of the game.
It was excellent. I really liked that. I didn't like the knickers on top.
Right, let's move on to Team Grantham.
I love the marquee. I thought that was a good use of the material. The path was a bit, you know, it wasn't the best use they could have perhaps done of it.
Yeah, but the wagon.
My problem with the wagon, it looks like a tanning oil bottle on a wagon.
Right, let's go to Muddle and Go Nowhere. Now, how did they fare?
I really loved that bubbling oil. It's probably one of the best animations we've seen coming out of the scratch build since we've started.
Yep.
I loved their platform. It was a good use of the soul. But what were they doing with that tarpaulin?
Feels like it's going to be a tricky one to call this for you.
I could have chosen any of the teams, but in the end, I went for the one item I loved the most.
The thong.
The bubbling oil.
Ah, so that means it's going to Muddle and Go Nowhere.
Yes.
We've won the Scratch Build Challenge.
Well done. Well done.
Hey!
In such a close contest, those 2 bonus points may well prove decisive. For now, though, all 3 teams must focus on perfecting their layout's build quality.
Thus far, Team Grantham have devoted the bulk of their time to building their scenery. It's a big gamble because it means they're still yet to run their trains.
We haven't fully tested every single bit of track on the layout at the moment, but we're not unduly worried because tomorrow I know it's all going to come together and look fantastic.
Mars, Planet 16 and the Alps. Which one of these exotic locations has been most skillfully rendered in miniature? Judges?
We're 2 days in now to our Sky's the Limit challenge, and it's time already to talk about build quality. Kathy, do you want to kick things off with railway sleepers?
I was really impressed with their laser cut supports. Everything is laser cut practically. All of the track bases, all of the cast systems, all laser cut. But I would like to see the final finish on the scenery. I'm going to give them a 4.
Stephen?
Overall, the build quality is quite good, but I think they may be relying too heavily on these laser-cut pre-built modules. I think it's making their design just a little too rigid. I'm going to forecast a 3 at the moment.
What about our boys, Muddle and Go Nowhere? They're going somewhere, aren't they? They've got some lovely touches in there.
Well, absolutely. These guys are the kit-bashing kings, and what they're producing is really looking good. I'm going to give them a 4.
OK. Kathy, how do you feel about how they're doing?
I'm going to go with the 3.
And the reason for that is?
Yeah.
That giant copper building. I think it's supposed to be weathered.
Yeah.
But it looks...
Like it's made of wrapping paper?
I'm just struggling a bit with it. And it's so large, it just, every time I see that layout, I just go, oh!
Well, it's a rocket hangar for an upright rocket. It's got to be huge, hasn't it? It may well prove to dominate the layout unduly.
Let's move on to Team Grantham.
I mean, this is going to be a layout for the purists. And the recreation of the Landwasser Viaduct in Switzerland is looking really superb.
Kathy, have you finished drooling yet about their parabolic reflector?
Wasn't that some of the most awesome modelling you've ever seen? Amazing. Yeah, I'm just going to wax lyrical.
Is 5 a big enough number for you when it comes to judging them on build quality?
You may have taken the words out of my mouth.
So you're going to give them a 5?
I am, and it's my first 5 in a heat.
Well justified 5 there from Kathy. Steve, what are you going to give them?
I'm going to go with predicting a 5 as well.
Wow.
It takes something pretty special to wow our hard-nosed railway modeller judges like that. Grantham in the lead then, with the chasing pack close behind though, in what's shaping up to be a high-scoring heat. As always, these marks aren't set in stone and could go up or down, depending on the ambition, quality and functionality of tomorrow's finished layouts.
On the Railway Sleepers Planet 16 layout, there's still a black hole where the futuristic space city should be. Time for team captain Michael to give the builders a bit of a rocket.
We're falling behind time and we need to get the stuff on the table.
No, we're not. We're not falling,
We are.
we're not falling behind time.
Tomorrow morning, then, we need to get the stuff on the table.
Don't wave your finger at me, Mike.
Do you think we're ready for 8 o'clock tomorrow?
It'll be ready when I'm ready.
What does that mean? Does that mean 8 o'clock tomorrow morning?
It'll be ready when it's ready.
Anyway, that's the big message. 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, we need the things on the table. Today we've been having a bit of a time management issue. Not everything's come together. Initially we're doing very well and we're up to speed, but we seem to have slipped behind today. We're going to work very hard tomorrow to get the Space City in place and getting the rocket gantry in place.
Final day of this great model railway challenge, and one team is now looming large over this heat. It's Grantham with their massive Alpine radio telescope layout. Yes, the other teams may have bigger rockets, but they're displaying impressive parabolics. How will sleepers and muddlers respond? Let's find out.
Last night, Captain Michael urged his railway sleepers to wake up and smell the coffee. However, their Space City layout is still missing a Space City. Oh.
At the moment, the buildings and structures are still on my table here. So if I don't manage to get these finished, we are going to have a very large, very bare patch in the middle of the board, which will be very, very unfortunate.
Team Grantham's epic alpine scenery is shaping up nicely. But guess what? They still haven't tested their trains.
But we'll do it. We're an experienced team. We've done it before.
They'll need all of that experience and more to satisfy the increasingly demanding Stern Steve Flint.
I want to see trains, rockets and extraterrestrial vehicles entertain me with their perfect functionality.
To make matters even more stressful for Team Grantham, their track includes steep gradients, which miniature trains often struggle to climb.
That's okay, go. Now, for the first time, we're testing the arrival of our rocket. Well done, brilliant. Very smooth.
With the trains finally running, Grantham can now focus their full attention on their animations. And like the other two teams in the heat, they're hoping to wow the judges with a rocket. Whose will rise to the occasion best?
So this is a bit of a treat for us. It's the first time we've had 3 different teams all in competition with each other, choosing the same animation in terms of rockets here. You must all be very proud of your rockets. So is this the centrepiece of your layout?
It's the largest part of the layout.
Yeah, I bet it is. That's an attention grabber.
Yes, it is.
Let's move down the line and have a look at this one. So, cross between a rocket and a spaceship somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's light. So it's made of cardboard?
Cardboard and balsa wood.
That's great. Well, good luck with that. It's great. It's a great thing. I hope to see it fully functional working on the layout. So, last but not least, the itty-bitty, teeny-weeny one on the end.
Yep.
Any jealousy of the size of these ones?
No.
So are we going to see that fire off?
Yes. It has its own launch mechanism, its own launch pad, and it will launch up into the sky.
Has it ever gone off in your hand? Team, sorry to drop this on you, but you only have 1 hour left of the Great Model Railway Challenge.
Come on, guys, we've got to get the buildings on.
As the countdown clock approaches 0, the teams focus on ensuring their rockets will have liftoff during the final judging.
Ready when you are, John.
I think it derailed slightly when we did that. It did. Right, try now. Okay.
Just stick it slightly on it. OK, let's give it a little shove. Wasn't perfect, but it moved it.
We're hoping this is a right first time launch. Please contain your excitement and wait for the countdown. Are we to my countdown?
Yep.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. Launch. Hey! Look pretty good to me. Smoking.
Teams, can I get your attention, please? 30 minutes left, that is it. 30 minutes left. Right.
Piece of down. That one.
As time ticks down, muddlers Lucy is finding that their layout's Martian inhabitants are struggling with gravity.
I'm feeling quite stressed because these won't stay up.
You have one job. Stick the people down.
You just killed the alien. I think we're on about stress level 11 out of 10 at the moment.
Shake a leg, guys. Let's see more movement in here.
If we don't get this working, the rocket will have a very rough launch.
Teams, 15 minutes. That's all you have left. 30 seconds left, guys. That is it. 30 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Every single team member step back from the board, please. Well done.
Lost for words at the moment, to be honest with you, because A, we've achieved it, and B, it looks fantastic. And whether we win or not, we're extremely proud of what we've achieved.
We got there. It was right down to the wire. The only thing that I would be concerned about is the rocket coming out of the shed, so fingers crossed it behaves itself.
I think the team have worked extremely hard, and there's been some tense moments. I think we can win, but it's all in the hands of the judges. All we can do is hope.
Tradition demands that the team's friends and family disembark at Fawley Hill to offer their support.
Team Grantham are currently flying high in the standings, but with a potential 10 points still up for grabs, it's anyone's heat. It'll all come down to the demonstrations.
This is a great model railway challenge. So no matter how beautiful your scenery, how immaculate your build quality, if those trains don't run, you're on the train home.
First to go with their Sky's the Limit layout are Muddle and Go Nowhere. They've created a steampunk-inspired Victorian city on Mars, complete with a giant rocket that should emerge majestically from an enormous silo.
Well, hopefully you haven't come here for the Constellation Prize, and you're going to give us all something to gramophone home about. Come on, let's see it.
Well, I think the first thing we better do is get the narrow gauge railway running. So I think as well as having the narrow gauge train running round, we better bring in the passenger train. So this is arriving from one of the other colonies elsewhere on the planet.
We have a derailment.
I've also got a goods train that's waiting to go. You see here on the wagons themselves, we've got some track that's going out, and we've also got some rocket parts.
Matt, the wonderful steampunk radio telescope there, that's an original gramophone?
So that's made with a gramophone horn, and then we've adapted it, we've weathered it, we've stuck it onto a turntable base, and we've stuck a servo motor in the back of it.
A lovely piece of engineering, that.
I think it's time then for the passenger train to depart. And if that's heading off in one direction, I think it's time that we launch one of our rockets. There we go, and the rocket is launching, and stop about there. So I think it's time to get the big rocket out of the shed. Fingers crossed, let's give it a go. Here comes the tank engine to tow it out.
This is the bit you're most nervous about. Has it got the power?
6 inches, 2 inches.
Oh, it's coupled, which is good.
Contact, and we're going to drag it out and see what happens.
Here it comes. Wow.
Yes! Wow. And we should be able to just blow a little bit of smoke on that as well.
There we are. Oh.
And that, I think, is it for all our animations.
Brilliant.
That's fantastic. Muddle and Go Nowhere. That was brilliant. Well done.
Next up, the Railway Sleepers. It was a close-run thing, but they did complete their Planet 16 Space City on time. Now the concern is everything else on the layout, like the angry aliens and, above all, the spaceship launch.
Railway Sleepers, wow our peepers.
Thank you. Well, all the passengers, they've come from the city, and they're going to unload, and they're going to board the spaceship.
Is there a platform for them to get off on, or just jump down onto the...
As you can see, the steps on the carriages.
OK.
The next thing we have is the Galaxy Express.
Wow, what a beautiful train.
Yeah.
Look at that.
As you go through the town, you'll see the illuminated LEDs, which tells the story of the space race on Earth.
Beautiful.
So is it a flat planet?
No, round, as all planets are.
Right.
Well,
there's a little debate. There's a bit of debate about that.
On Earth, we have Formula 1. On Planet 16, we have the space races. Did we see the
yeah,
the alien?
Aliens coming out of the cave.
Oh, yes. It's an alien merry-go-round.
And there's another alien. Watch out.
Oh.
There he is.
Oh, yes. That's brilliant. Look at that. Is he playing hide and seek?
I think all the passengers are on board.
Ah, brilliant, OK.
And we're ready for takeoff.
5,
Brush it in.
4, 3, 2, 1, blast off.
Whoa, look at that. And it's going up. And it's progressing forward as we speak. Give them a round of applause, guys. That's amazing. Team Railway Sleepers, well done.
Last to go, Team Grantham with a layout inspired by their own train journeys through the Alps. They left track testing late to focus on perfecting their spectacular scenery, but will the gamble pay off?
The tension is mounting.
Yeah, come on, let's see it.
OK, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the heart of the European Alps. The SkyTrain Special Express is arriving in the station, pulled by specially chartered locomotive Flying Scotsman.
Wow.
And it brings its train into the station where the excited guests are going to be taken to the top of the mountain by the funicular railway. Coming the other way is a special freight transporter train that is transporting the Skyrocket. What happens now is the rocket wagon is detached from the train on the main line and then proceeds to shunt into the bay platform where the little waiting loco is going to take it up the incline. As the shunt's happening, the passengers are all on the funicular railway, and now that sets off on its journey up the incline. Meanwhile, the rocket train is now setting off up the mountain to the launch site, and it's now on the rising 1 in 20 gradient, which has been engineered to take it up into the mountain. As it does so, it approaches a recreation we've made of a very famous Swiss railway location, which is the famous Landwasser Viaduct, and it plunges straight into a sheer rock face to take it in the tunnel as it continually is spiralling up the mountain. So the freight train now sets off, its job complete. The rocket is now halfway up the mountain, crossing a well-known beauty spot, an alpine lake, a beer garden. And now the radio telescope springs into life, and that is now orientating itself to track the launch of the rocket. And now, in preparation for launch, the lid of the swimming pool opens up. Are we ready, Mission Controller, to count down? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, blast off!
The teams have done all they can. Their fate now rests in the hands of the judges.
Will Grantham's beautifully orchestrated demonstration have the judges singing their praises?
I'm really happy with how the demonstration went, and the rocket launch at the end was as spectacular as we were hoping it would be.
Will Railway Sleeper's gorgeous Galaxy Express train take their scores to infinity and beyond?
I think the judges were really impressed, but it's a tough competition, and I wouldn't like to say if we've won or not.
Or will Muddle and Go Nowhere nick it with their near-perfect display?
I think the demonstration went pretty well. We managed to get the rocket out of the shed. I hope the judges were impressed. I think our layout was very different. In fact, I think all 3 layouts were very different.
Welcome back to the Great Model Railway Challenge. There's a fired-up atmosphere at Fawley Hill as our 3 teams of high-flying modelling maestros wait to discover which has won our Sky's the Limit themed heat and booked that automatic place in the semi-finals.
Also at stake, the wildcard slot in the next round, which will go to the highest scoring runner-up from across all 5 heats.
Well, that was brilliant entertainment, and congratulations to all 3 teams, really. Let's have a quick word about how well it all worked. And starting off with Muddle and Go Nowhere, Kathy.
The animation worked flawlessly. That beautiful rocket gantry with the steam, which I thought really added to the atmosphere. I felt the track let them down a little bit. There was one point where that loco just didn't really want to go over it.
Steve, best-looking Mars this side of a Glaswegian chippy?
Beautiful fantasy layout and superb piece of 3-dimensional art. But what about the trains running and the animations? Well, everything worked pretty well. A small derailment, but for me, I was rather hoping the big rocket was going to take off. But maybe that was a step too far for them.
Right, let's move on to the railway sleepers. Steve, functionality, how do you think they did?
Well, firstly, I'd like to say in the closing stages of this competition, that layout went into hyperdrive with the galactic back scene and the superb laser-cut city. Functionality, well, I mean, everything seemed to work OK. It was genteel and ran rather ordinarily. The rocket ship was basically a paper dart operated by a puppeteer.
The other animations of the unsuspecting Earthling being chased by an alien in and out of the cave, that worked well, Kathy.
It just reminded me of one of those sort of cartoons you see where they're being chased all the time by something. It was sweet, and the little one that popped out on the ground, I thought that was really clever.
OK, let's talk then about Grantham. Did it all work, Steve?
It was fantastic, wasn't it? Even the rocket launch was a really great illusion. Wow, it even disappeared behind a cloud. I thought that was a very clever touch. And the trains, well, there was no faults at all. Everything ran perfectly.
Kathy, what did you make of their wonderful layout?
Wow, really impressed. Not only did their trains run flawlessly, they shunted back and forth, which we haven't seen many people dare to do.
No. Also, don't forget the radio telescope.
I wonder if they'll notice if I stick it in my car.
One slight problem for me, though, is on build quality. The details were just a little bit clinical. Maybe Switzerland is clinical. I don't know. It's a long time since I've been.
All right, you guys have got a decision to make. Let's stare at you while you make it.
Teams, have you enjoyed yourselves today? Yes! Guys, can we give them a round of applause, please? Amazing modellers. Thank you so much for entertaining us.
It's been incredible watching your 3 layouts come together over the last 3 days. It's time now to finally find out, though, who wins this Our Sky's the Limit challenge. Judges?
And the winner is... Team Grantham.
Delighted, hugely proud of the team. Obviously, the big challenge now is that we're up against the winners of all the other heats, so we're going to have to produce something even more spectacular in the semi-final.
Team Grantham scored a perfect 10 for their layout's functionality, rocketing them into the semi-final.
Guys, can I get your attention for a moment, please? Slight change to the usual proceedings. We have an announcement to make.
As you may be aware, there's one place in the semi-finals for the best runner-up across the 5 heats. And having added up everybody's scores, we can announce today, Tim, that...
Progressing through to the semi-finals. Muddle and Go Nowhere.
The Muddlers topping the runners-up board with a score that would have seen them win several of the previous heats.
Muddle and Go Nowhere. Fantastic runners-up. I'm really looking forward to their next effort.
We're absolutely on cloud 9 now. I think the adrenaline's going to carry us through the next few days whilst we're planning for the next round. Team Grantham, their layout was just superb. So I think between the 2 of us, I think we're going to make really good, strong semi-final teams.
Team Grantham picked it with their flawless functionality and amazing build quality. Really impressive winners.
Next time on the Great Model Railway Challenge, the first 3 semi-finalists return to battle it out for a place in the grand final. Myths, monsters, legends and fables is the theme. With a treasure trove of tricks and treats in store, which team will live happily ever after?
In first place...
Be that next Saturday at the slightly earlier time of 7:45. They're the ultimate symbol of wealth and opulence. If you've got a spare 80 million, the world's most luxurious private jets is brand new tomorrow at 9. Brand new after the break, we go beyond the headlines to discover the story of Prince Andrew in the scandal of the House of York.